Good morning. Welcome back. And for those of you joining us for the first time today, I'm Thelma Barker, President of the Independent Telecommunications Pioneers Association, National Capital Chapter. Today, IPA proudly hosts our final virtual event for the season. We're thrilled that you are with us today as part of ITPA's ongoing and popular series of information exchange sessions, from in-person lunches to now remote sessions as part of our monthly virtual series. Today's How to Lead Teams to Goals webinar will have a focus on how the Army Corps of Engineers was able to realize the net gains with IT modernization in the field, hosted by our returning guest speaker, Mr. Dovarius Peoples, CIO of the United States Army Corps of Engineers. A little bit about ITPA. The Independent Telecommunications Pioneers Association is a nonprofit professional association created by and for the telecommunications industry. Dedicated to community service, ITPA has been serving the public on behalf of telecom companies since 1920. To help expand our chapter membership and continue to grow as an association to set us up for future success, we've created a mentor-protege program. This program provides a unique pathway for young professionals within the first 10 years of their careers to join our organization, as well as network and serve the community. Nominations for our next class are still open, so if you'd like to nominate a potential protege for our local chapter, please reach out to us for more information. You can visit our website at itpancc.org. A little bit more now about the local charity causes ITPA NCC supports. We support our local Juvenile Research Diabetes Foundation Mid-Atlantic chapter, who is developing life-changing therapies that lessen the impact of type 1 diabetes. We just launched our inaugural STEM grant program to help those students interested in pursuing a career in technology get the added support needed to ensure their success. This past holiday season, we were also able to double our fundraising goal and raise over $7,000 for Project ELF as part of the USO. Every year, ITPA NCC hosts our annual golf charity tournament to help our three charities, and we always have a team of veterans on behalf of the Salute Military Golf Association as well. More on our annual golf tournament a little later. From March through May, we kicked off our Regional Feeding America fundraiser to help our local communities during these uncertain times of food security tied to the pandemic. I'm happy to announce today that we exceeded our goal and we raised $3,400. Your contributions will help our local Feeding America chapter by enabling them to purchase 6,800 meals for families in need. This assistance could not be more dire as our local food banks have increased requests throughout this pandemic season. A very special thank you to Verizon, whose generous contribution helped us hit and exceed our goal. And of course, none of this would be possible without you, our corporate sponsors for ITPA NCC. I'd like to personally recognize the contributions and support of all of our sponsors. Our platinum sponsors, Avaya Government Solutions, Comcast Government Services, Granite Government Solutions, Hughes, and Lumen. Our gold sponsors, Converge One, Graybar, Metel, SUS Consulting, T-Mobile Secure Federal Operations, and Verizon. Our silver sponsors, BJJ and Associates, Collab 9, Corning, Equinix, GBI, GES, and Turning Point. and our newest technology sponsor, Panoptis Intelligence. We are grateful for the ongoing sponsorship support, and we were thrilled to have an array of new sponsors this season. Please feel free to reach out to Jason Schwam for more information on becoming a season sponsor for our upcoming 2021-2022 season. We're happy to be able to eventually get back to our normal in-person lunches next season. Stay tuned for a preview. And now, before we begin, a few items. We welcome our friends and colleagues from the media. As a reminder, today's session is on the record. You may submit any questions in the chat, and our moderator will try to get through as many as possible. If you're having any technical difficulties, use the chat box in your toolbar to chat with our webinar host. Today's webinar recording will be available for your viewing pleasure on our ITPA NCC YouTube channel. And if you would like a copy of today's presentation deck, just reach out to us at info@itpancc.org. And now, I'm pleased to introduce a fellow ITPA sponsor and personal friend of ITPA NCC, Mr. Jessie Showers. Jessie is a founder and president and CEO of Global Enterprise Services, LLC. GES is a SBA certified 8A and service disabled veteran-owned small business that provides information technology, cyber, cloud, and telecommunications consulting and services. He is a former member of the United States Air Force and Department of Defense Senior Executive Services, known for delivering world-class technology solutions and services. Also, he's a respected expert with over 3 decades in expertise with strategic planning, acquisitions, program management, engineering, and mission-focused customer service. Prior to founding GES, Mr. Showers was the network infrastructure executive for the Defense Information Systems Agency. He was responsible for planning, resourcing, sustaining, and evolving the Defense Information Systems Network, valued at over $30 billion, one of the largest single IT networks in the world. He provided executive oversight for evolution, development, sustainment, and operational responsive IT cloud and SATCOM solutions that enable joint warfighting. Mr. Showers was previously chair of the DISN work group for the Department of Defense, tri-chair of the SATCOM Systems Engineering Group, Defense Space Council, and Presidential National Voice Council Executive Group. Mr. Showers holds 2 masters in resource management and is the father of 4 children, including one of our very own ITPA NCC mentor proteges, Alvin, who is also the Director of Operations at GES. Alvin has played a very integral role in supporting ITPA with his involvement with our social media and the execution of our virtual events. Thank you, Alvin. And now it's my honor to introduce a longtime supporter and friend of mine, Mr. Jessie Showers.
Thank you, Thelma. I'm glad to be with you all here today. I'm happy to continue supporting IPTA personally, and I'd like to thank everyone involved in making today's Realizing Net Gain seminar happen. And now I'd like to introduce and welcome our special guest keynote speaker from the United States Army Corps of Engineers, Mr. Dovarius Peoples. Mr. Peoples was selected for the Senior Executive Services in January of 2016. He assumed the position of Chief Information Officer G6 in April 2019 with the Army Corps of Engineers. And In this role, he serves as the principal advisor to the Commanding General of Information Technology Issues. He is responsible for all aspects of information resource management and information technology for the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. Prior to his current assignment, Mr. Peoples served as the deputy to the Commanding General of the U.S. Army NetCom. In this capacity, Mr. Peoples provided senior technical leadership to ensure Army theater level networks were integrated into the Army's portion of the Department of Defense Information Network, DOTN, and enterprise construct. The command employed over 14,000 military, civilian, contractor personnel located in every theater in 20 countries around the world, and with an annual budget in excess of $1.4 billion. He also has a variety of other assignments, and what's not listed in his current bio is he is a brilliant leader, an inspiring person to listen to, and he's developing the next future leaders of the department. I want to thank you for joining us today, Mr. Peoples.
Hey, sir, thank you and everyone else for having me and allowing me with this opportunity. I do apologize. Just so happens that we're having a fire drill inside of the building this morning, so you can't plan for some of these things to happen, but I'm happy to be here.
Okay.
Can you hear me, sir?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, awesome. So yes, so definitely I definitely appreciate the opportunity. Several things from the CIO side of the house within the Army Corps of Engineers. We've had a very interesting year as we've communicated in several settings previously, but I do appreciate a lot of the efforts that the team has put in place in order to make this year successful as we're working more and more remote. We have definitely observed a lot of things with regards to how to effectively implement IT. And we have also learned through our mistakes as well as our successes as well. And some of the things that we've put a lot of emphasis on as we've learned through the challenges. One, we've looked at how we can grow our professionals because everybody grows at different rates. And one of the things that we begin to do is emphasize and enhance how we virtually train our employees. And that also means working in collective and conjunction with private industry as well. We have seen that through a virtual setting, being able to give users that true experience with regards to whether that's various user interfaces, whether that's even more hands-on with training and tutorials in different settings. Those have all been things that we've taken into account, and we have also learned from those. Several things we begin to look at, especially when it comes to data center modernization, where they are positioned. We have definitely seen success and failures with our current data centers that we have in place. Our major data centers reside in Vicksburg, Mississippi, and Portland, Oregon, and we are going through a data center transformation, working in conjunction with some of our mission partners to modernize how we effectively connect, meaning connections going directly to the internet, as well as to those major cloud providers without having to go around the world in so many different ways, degrading our resources as well as providing latency inside of the infrastructure. And we're also beginning to look at our financial posture as well, ensuring that we are properly prepared to be able to handle the financial responsibility, not just to round out this year, but also in the out years, specifically looking at 22, which is the next fiscal year, due to the fact that modernization will be successful only with the right resources. And in order to do that for the next year, we had to ensure that we properly plan for those things. So we're going through intense budget drills, looking at how we can properly ensure that we have those resources so that we can be successful as we begin to move forward. And I think last but not least, some of the things that we begin to do is work through shared services with the department. I think in order to see return on investment, being a true mission partner, you have to begin to share and align resources. We begin to share a lot of our resources working with a lot of the federal partners due to the fact that we have a dual reporting mission, one being that of the civil side, the federal side working with OMB, and then one on the department side working closely with the Department of Army. So with that being said, we begin to collaborate and leverage capabilities such as Microsoft Teams for collaboration spaces with the department, the DoD alike. And we've also begun to start sharing resources and working closely with the likes of DHS on some of our OT, cyber, and SCADA efforts and initiatives as well, because of the civil aspects, the levees, the locks, the dams, controlling a lot of the waterways, and allowing for a lot of our disaster relief missions, such as the blue rooftops that we put on top of buildings, houses, when there's natural disasters. So a lot has been going on within the Corps of Engineers. We're excited. We're definitely looking forward to what's coming, but we are starting to see a lot of return on investment from some of the things we begin to put in place as COVID-19 happened and as we continue to work in a remote construct, and definitely looking forward to what's to come. So I'll pause there and open it up for questions, and let's go from there. Over.
Mr. Peoples, thank you. Thank you very much. You know, you've been with us for 3 sessions, and you've spoken in great detail about the transition, the move to mobility, and now the net gains, your lessons learned. You know, I'm curious, had COVID not presented itself, would you have taken, were these actions and initiatives already in the plan, like in the 5-year plan and the 10-year plan? We know that you had to execute very quickly. However, had it not been for COVID, when would you have seen these changes and initiatives and transformation take place?
Yeah, the beauty about it is that when I first got to the Corps of Engineers, I set out with a 90-day roadmap and plan. And the way I envision things are through micro strategies. So for the organization, we have a set of activities, and then we also have a set of objectives. That's how we articulate what our strategies are, and that's also how we begin to hold ourselves accountable. So within that 90-day strategy and within those micro strategies that we put together, a lot of the items that we identified on the roadmap were in flight. Some of those were to happen in FY22, specifically centered around our digital transformation efforts, including our mobility efforts, as well as our data efforts. Some of those were really in 22 due to the fact that funding, we had to realign funding and some of those other things. However, when the pandemic happened and we were given a charge to go remote from a workforce standpoint, we had to pull a lot of those things to the left. So with that being said, we had to quickly work with our mission partners to ensure we strengthen the infrastructure. We didn't get through a lot of the life cycle replacement efforts that we were looking for. However, we were able to modernize and replace probably about 30% of our infrastructure that was aging this fiscal year, since due to the fact that the pandemic happened. Some of our collaboration tools, we had already implemented O365. However, as one of the capabilities, a part of that suite, being that of the Teams capability, we were scheduled to have Teams fully implemented as of FY22. When the pandemic happened, we had to pull that to the left significantly as well too, to ensure that our enterprise could effectively collaborate. So that was another significant muscle mover that we had to implement and put in place. And then lastly, as a part of our data center consolidation efforts, for FY20, we were able to close almost 32 data centers within the Corps of Engineers. So that was a huge lift. And as we moved into FY21, the goal was to modernize our 2 major data centers, which was we consolidated to 2, and that was in Vicksburg and in Portland. And with that being said, we were working to strategically figure out how to properly implement a modernized solution. And we came across the Equinix capability, which allowed us to partner with our hybrid cloud environment as well. The good thing is we moved that to the left as well too. We had to do some strategic budget realignment. And we had to also have some intense fellowship with our mission partners as well, because from a Corps of Engineers, we're a reimbursable organization. So we run it just as a business. And in order to be able to do that, you have to be able to communicate to the business what the return on investment will be if they so choose to invest in these things. So we really moved a lot of our strategic efforts from the right to the left. And we still have a lot to do, but we have positioned ourselves to take that next leap from a digital transformation journey perspective.
Thank you. Thank you very much. There are a lot of agencies that can take lessons learned from what Army Corps has done. So I'm going to now turn it over to our Q&A moderator. Mr. Showers, you can take it away.
Okay. Dovarius, the first question is from the government. And after you completed the COVID's response, did the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers continue to rapidly evolve on existing capabilities or projects, or has it been more of a building a foundational support for early efforts we had already started?
Yeah, we've really built off the momentum from a lot of the efforts we've already started. Because again, when we implemented that strategy, it really transformed how we thought, how we accepted, and how we viewed IT. So the good thing about it is the plan was put in place. It was actually verified and validated that it was on the right track due to the fact that a lot of the things needed to be implemented now that we had previously planned for, just have to pull it to the left. Those were things that needed to be done. So nothing that we did for the COVID-19 response or the pandemic response was or will be a temporary solution. It's just a foundation building block to where we can propel ourselves to the next phase as we move towards the next fiscal year. So everything was done correctly, and it was done strategically, and those efforts were verified and validated based off of the things that have happened now.
Okay. The second question is from our friends in the media and has two parts. A year on from COVID, so we've been in COVID for about a year. Has your battle rhythm or rollout changed, and are you still pursuing several major efforts simultaneously on how the early efforts help, or the other part of it is, did your earlier efforts help facilitate what you're doing on the efforts you're working now, major efforts you're working now?
Right, we are aggressive. We're aggressive in our modernization strategy and journey. We haven't stopped, and we won't stop. Some of the things that we're doing now, even through the executive order, we've aligned all of our efforts and initiatives to that executive order that just recently came out. And we are working in conjunction with OMB to go through the TMF process for the technology modernization funds, because we believe that will be a significant enabler to help us take that modernization journey and leap, because those are additional funds that can help our organizations on that journey. So we have put together a solid package, and we're going through the process now. And some of the efforts that we're looking at from a modernization perspective is to enhance our infrastructure. Some of the things we're also looking at is our two-factor authentication mechanisms, because ultimately we want to be a digital as well as mobile organization. So that means allowing users to have access to all of their critical applications, critical data through the mobility aspects of things, whether that's BYOD or through government furnished equipment. Through a phased approach, we started with the government furnished equipment, working with the department as well as our federal partners. We may evolve completely to the BYOD, the bring your own device concept. That has not been fully fleshed out yet, but we have fully embraced the mobility aspects through the government furnished equipment. And we're able to do that leveraging capabilities such as O365 from an email perspective, through a collaboration perspective, as well as SharePoint and some of the host of other things. So it's really accelerated a lot of things we've done. And we haven't gotten off our strategy. That's one thing I will reiterate. Our strategy was solid, and we just continued to build upon it. So it's not as if we had to change course. We just had to pull things aggressively to the left that were dedicated or specified for the out year. So that was our significant challenge: how to fund those things and how to properly resource them to make sure we can deliver on the things that our customers needed.
Okay, thank you. The next question is from industry, and they want to know is, how is the return to work initiative within DoD synchronizing with IT services? And what role did the U.S. Army Corps CIO G6 play now, and what role will you play in the future as you roll out these new IT services?
Yeah, I think we've been leading and leaning forward from the front with a lot of these things. The Corps of Engineers is slightly unique from most Army entities. Being that we're not located on what we call camp posts and stations, we're more so located centrally downtown in a lot of the downtown areas of a lot of the major cities and thoroughfare areas. So with that being said, we have to operate differently, meaning we have to connect to our enterprise resources a lot differently. And we have to strategically begin to do some of these things, because when it comes to natural disasters and those type of things, that's what the Corps of Engineers specialize in: construction, which is not necessarily always on a camp posting station, and then the civil mission, the waterways, the levees, locks, and dams. So we have really put a heavy emphasis on doing a lot of those things. And from a mission standpoint, being that we are that unique, it forces us to kind of lean forward and have those resources. So when you talk about remote work and COVID-19, a lot of these things it didn't necessarily change what we did, but it allowed us to, or forced us to think how we can support our workforce. So being that we've been disparate and decentralized from a from a workforce station, we haven't really forced ourselves to have to come back into the office because we really didn't work in an office setting when you think about the major mission lines. So we've always operated in the construct of remote work. So it really wasn't us necessarily having to adjust to the remote work. It was more so, how do we take that construct to the next level to really ensure that our users can operate in a more optimal manner?
Okay, wow, that's some good stuff happening in the Army Corps. The next question is also from industry, and what they want to know is, what role does data architectures play in your system rollouts, and how do you ensure that your organization remains flexible enough to whatever challenges thrown at the Army Corps, because you have a no-fail mission? So if you have a standard architecture, how do you stay flexible enough to adapt to that architecture for new challenges?
Right. So when we talk architecture, we look at things from the perspective of data and resources, and that's how we build out the majority of the things that we're doing from an IT perspective. So from a governance side of the house, we've implemented and we've developed a strong data governance model within the organization with the leaders. The leaders have also bought into that model as well. So with that being said, every organization or every directorate inside of USACE from a business line perspective looks at the data from an architecture, mission enablement, and all of those other things. So data is at the forefront of everything that we do. And from an IT perspective, our job is to ensure that it's properly secured, ensure that users have the ability to properly access it, and those type of things. So we've put the necessary resources around the organization to begin to look at data as an enabler, as a warfighting mission capability, and not just something that's there to be accessed, but how do we use it? So now we're beginning to identify how we can properly visualize that data, utilizing a cloud-based platform, ensuring that we look at it from the perspective of authoritative data sources, divesting where we can without having a redundancy in applications. So we've definitely put a lot of rigor to the data governance perspective and looking at architecture from a data perspective without bogging too much down, because one of the things we don't want to do, we push things down to the lower levels. And that means from an architecture side of the house, not so much keeping it at the CIO level, but how do we enable the districts and divisions? So when we think data, we work closely with our mission stakeholders, because from a data standpoint, they are ultimately the ones that drive the data construct, the data posture, and those type of things. And we take that information and we feed it up to establish a consistent architecture, but we don't leave that from a CIO side of the house. We push that down to the business unit, and we garner that information to help develop strategic architectures. So ultimately we have flexibility and we don't lock ourselves into one solid architecture, but we set a standard. And then from that standard, we begin to build upon that construct. So it brings us agility and flexibility versus locking ourselves in too tight.
Great, thank you. The next question, you kind of talked to a little bit about collaboration. This question will allow you to expand on that a little bit. And the question is how does the U.S. Army Corps CIO G6 ensure that employees have the ability to maximize collaboration tools to enable their work product now that DoD is returning back to work?
Right, as you know, as many are aware, there are a lot of collaboration tools out there. So some of the things that we begin to look at, one, we had to establish a solid baseline, because ultimately we use many collaboration tools, WebEx, we even use Zoom, we use Teams, Skype for Business, which is sunsetting now as Teams rolls out. There are so many out there that we take advantage of. So then the question becomes, we don't have enough funds to continue to maintain with all of those things. So from a divestment as well as an IT strategy perspective, we had to start that conversation as to how do we divest. So we've standardized on several capabilities within USACE to begin to meet our mission needs from a collaboration tool perspective. And then once we establish that standard construct, we then begin to evolve it to ensure we can meet the evolving needs of our customers. Because some of the things, even though we're a DoD organization, some of the things that we've seen from a mission enablement aspects of things is having the ability to connect with our mission partners that are in your local districts and divisions, state and local areas. And due to the fact that from a DoD side of the house, we sometimes forget that there is an additional mission partner out there. From a USACE side of the house, Corps of Engineers, we had to ensure we could effectively collaborate with those partners. So we had to have mission capabilities that would enable successful collaboration, as well as to meet the needs of our DoD department counterparts as well. So we've built a architecture and we've standardized our tool set to allow us to have that flexibility to be able to communicate always with all partners. So that's some of the ways we've enabled and enhanced our mission set through collaboration, but still keeping in mind the essence of the mission that we have from Army Corps of Engineers.
Okay, my video is flickering a little bit, so I'm gonna cut it off for a second. Can you still hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, the next question was, what is the most important lesson learned during the response phase of the pandemic as it relates to the U.S. Army Corps modernization of IT vision? And that question is from industry. And I can repeat it if you would like me to.
Yeah, I think that the main thing that we've learned is that not all situations will be you want to accomplish or achieve all mission goals the same way. Sometimes if you fail, you identify and fail early, fail fast, and then you maneuver and go on to the next thing. Because from an IT side of the house, sometimes you don't get it right the first time. And I think we've identified and we've learned that when it comes to IT, you have to be flexible. And I think one of the things that the pandemic has also taught us from an IT perspective is that if you're not flexible, if you're not agile, if you lock yourselves into one way of thinking, one methodology of implementation, then you begin to hinder the mission even more. And I think that from a department standpoint has also allowed us to see that, hey, you have to get IT implemented fast, because if you don't get it implemented fast, then you miss the mark due to the rapid way that IT changes and due to the needs that the customers have. And working in this remote construct, it has really showed us, especially with the pandemic, that if you can't meet the mail fast, then you'll be behind when it comes to mission delivery, mission enablement. So we have really taken the charge on, and for FY22, we're going to continue to keep the pace that we've already established with regards to delivering services and capabilities on time, within budget, and with the speed and delivery that's required from our mission partners.
Okay. This next question is also from industry. It says, what is coming next for the U.S. Army Corps as it relates to IT? And will it be large or small change? And then the final aspect of that, what does successful mobility look like in 5 years?
Yeah, for us, it's all about data and digital transformation and modernization. So when we talk about what does IT look like for us, IT, if you envision IT at USACE from a Corps of Engineers standpoint and how we support the mission, think about IT that you have at home. Think about the resources that you have available from your mobile device, being able to have instant access, being able to download any application on your mobile device and it works. Think about online banking. We manage our own financial system. So being able to do our timesheets, being able to do some of our cost accounting capabilities. We are really going to be a true digital transformation effort, and we're going to be a digitally transformed organization. So in 5 years, if you don't want to go into the office, the vision for IT is you never have to, because ultimately you should be able to do your job sitting in Starbucks from a coffee shop, having access to all of your mission critical applications without having to worry about going into the office. You only go into the office if you need to. And that's where we are taking IT, and that's how we're aligning our budget and resources to really be a mobile workforce, but digitally transform how we look at things and how we access things such as data and critical resources to enable us to go to the next level.
Okay, thank you, Dovarius. And we have just 2 more questions for you. And some of them allow you to circle back on some of the previous responses or to expand on it. The next question from industry is why does it matter to get into the eaches of an IT strategy within an organization?
To get into the eaches?
Yeah, into the eaches.
Yeah, so we haven't necessarily gotten into, so sometimes there are fundamental blocking and tackling concepts. And when you start to talk about the eaches force you, from my perspective, the eaches force you into a one-off solution, or it forces you into one way of thinking. At the end of the day, it goes back. I look at the eaches as the conversation between configuration and customization. You want to be more of a configurable organization versus customization, because customization forces you to look at the eaches and those random one-off scenarios versus looking at it from an enterprise perspective as to how can we service the enterprise. The eaches also force you expend more from a financial perspective as well, trying to chase the eaches versus looking at it from an enterprise construct. How can the greater good or the larger enterprise body take advantage of the resources and capabilities that you're implementing versus a siloed approach of looking at it from an eaches standpoint? So those are some of the things that we begin to look at from an enterprise perspective, from architecture, from data, from mobility and those type of things, even from a district and division perspective. Because at the end of the day, if we can ensure that the enterprise is satisfied and taken care of from a mission enablement side of the house, then that means that eaches will ultimately fall in line because we're not developing one-offs, but the entire enterprise can take full advantage. It also assists us with cybersecurity, ensuring that we can properly secure the enterprise and workforce. And it also allows us to strategically align a lot of our O&M efforts as well when it comes to upgrades, modifications, and modernization efforts. So that's how we begin to approach the perspective and construct of eaches.
Okay. And Dovarius, the last question is, and you talked about this a little bit earlier about your lessons learned, is what is the most important IT lesson you learned from the pandemic response? And how will that be applied to the mobility future or your collaboration future for your workforce?
I would say it's probably stakeholder concurrence. Because at the end of the day, we have to focus on our mission and we have to focus on our customers. And if we don't focus on the customers, then we lose sight of the larger picture. So I think one of the things we've learned from this is we have to listen to our business stakeholders, because once we do that, then we will in return have a more successful journey.
Thank you, Dovarius, for your question. Thelma, I'll throw it back over to you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Mr. Showers, can you hear me now?
I can hear you now.
Okay, great. Thank you. So, Mr. Peoples, I just have one final question for you, if you wouldn't mind, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
What can ITPA, NCC, and our sponsor community do to help and assist within the Army Corps of Engineers?
I would say we have a lot of efforts and initiatives going on. Being able to leverage you all as a community of practice and an enabling body. But I also believe from the vendor and mission partnerships that are out there, one of the things that I'm beginning to reiterate to a lot of our mission partners, as we go down this modernization journey, there is a lot of room for collaboration with industry. So one of the things that we're looking for industry to do is not only to effectively collaborate with us, but teach us. And I think even through this community of practice, ensuring that as we have these various settings, what does it mean to train? What does it mean to enhance the government? And from a Corps of Engineers side of the house, we're always thinking about how can we train our professionals. So one of the things we're looking to do, even as we collaborate with you all, is train us. Teach us how to fish. So when you're gone, we'll be able to understand how to manage, maintain, and operate in the environment. And I think from a collaboration side of the house, the more opportunities you all have to train the workforce, and as we have these collaboration opportunities, I think training is a key area that we should put emphasis in. So working with you all, I think that's an area that we can improve upon.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And Mr. Peoples, thank you for so much time that you devoted to ITPA this season. Today wraps up a 3-part series. And as I spoke to you prior to our session starting today, extremely refreshing, very informative, extremely valuable information. And on behalf of ITPA, NCC, and our sponsors, we just want to thank you for providing this level of support, this amount of information. And so I'm asking everyone out there to join me in a virtual round of applause for Mr. Peoples for today's presentation. And also Mr. Showers from GES, thank you for your introduction of our keynote, as well as being our Q&A moderator. So once again, a special thank you to all of the ITPA NCC sponsors for this season. We greatly appreciate your support. Our platinum sponsors being Avaya Government Solutions, Comcast Government Services, Granite Government Solutions, Hughes, and Lumen. Our gold sponsors, Converge One, Graybar, Metel, SUS Consulting, T-Mobile Secure Federal Operations, and Verizon. Our silver sponsors, BJJ and Associates, Collab 9, Corning, Equinix, GBI, GES, and Turning Point, and our newest technology sponsor, Panoptis Intelligence. We have a few upcoming events, and we will get to those shortly. Before we do, as I mentioned when we first got started, today is our final virtual session for the season. And I'd like to say that it has been truly an honor for me to serve as president of this local national capital chapter of ITPA NCC. I'm thrilled to have been able to switch our traditional in-person monthly lunches to virtual events on a monthly basis in a very swift manner. Looking back at a record-breaking season with highlights including the launch of our YouTube channel, as well as our LinkedIn pages, ITPA NCC establishing a social media presence. I could not have done that without the help of our proteges. So thank you to Ben, Alvin, and Nithya. We eclipsed our past USO Project ELF goals, our continuing local community support through the COVID-19 Feeding America fundraiser that we had this spring, kickstarting a STEM grant program. That's something that was very dear to my heart. We want to encourage students, both middle school, high school, and college, to pursue opportunities within the technology arena. And hopefully our STEM grant program will support that. And then lastly, creating a thread for diversity, equity, and inclusion to pull together our organization in the way that we move forward, so that we have appropriate representation, not only in our executive board, but on our board of directors, with our programming, our guest speakers, everything that contributes to ITPA NCC. And now, as previous presidents have done, I would like to pass the baton and welcome the new ITPA NCC president for our upcoming 2021-2022 season, Mr. Patrick Amos.
Oh, thank you, Thelma. First, I'd like to thank you for your leadership through a year that has truly been unprecedented in our present history. Your mentorship and also your strong presence as our chapter president has been, a phenomenal feat. We have just really started to realize some level of normalcy in society. And again, you were at the helm during a time where there was great uncertainty and not a whole lot of direction. So I thank you for, again, your leadership, your mentorship, and your direction. And for your innovative vision throughout this again, unprecedented time. I'd also like to thank the committee chairs who did a phenomenal job in supporting you. And I thank them for all committing to stay on board to maintain continuity as well as consistency for ITPA NCC. I'd like to thank also the executive board members and those who are rising up into leadership positions within the ITPA NCC, and just thank everyone for their continued support as I move into and installed as the president of ITPA NCC. Some of the things that I would like to continue to carry forward in the next administration for the 2021-2022 season, obviously, are the STEM initiatives that you had, again, with great vision, brought forward, as well as the diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives that you also brought into your administration. One of the other things that I would like to also bring into my administration is increasing community presence through charitable endeavors. So with that said, I'd like to speak very briefly and pivot to our charitable, really our main charitable event, one of our main charitable events, the charity golf tournament. And the chairman for this committee is Mr. Jason Brumfield. Jason is the senior director and general manager for federal civilian and law enforcement sector at Lumen. He has been with the company since 2013, having responsibility for leading the go-to-market efforts for Lumen Telecommunications product and IT services, sales to the civilian federal government. Under his leadership, teams of federal account directors have collaborated with civilian agencies to support IT modernization initiatives. Prior to joining CenturyLink, or Lumen, Mr. Brumfield served as sales director, civilian federal sales for Level 3 Communications, as well as sales director for Avaya Government and Nortel Government Solutions. He is also another past ITPA president and golf committee chair. For more of what we have planned for this summer, I'd like to now welcome Jason Brumfield. Jason, over to you.
Hey, Pat, thanks a lot. Appreciate the intro. I do want to go back, though, before we talk about the golf tournament and just thank Dovarius. I thought that was a pretty impressive pivot from a fire alarm to outside to deliver a pretty awesome presentation. So thanks for that. And that's a good way to get re-invited to speak again at ITPA. That was a pretty excellent work. So thanks. So yeah, the charity golf tournament has been one of our largest charitable events throughout the years. I think we're going on year 12. I've been really excited to lead that effort. So anyway, July 12th is the event. We have a number of sponsors already signed up, but there's room for plenty more. Again, coming out of a lot of the COVID restrictions from the November tournament, there's no restrictions this year. We are taking a lot of safety precautions to do some of the event, most of the event outside, including eating and things like that. So plenty of opportunities to continue to social distance. So we do expect to get everybody in that we can. We've had a number of individuals sign up, as well as our teams with our sponsors. Just want to repeat that date of July 12th. Easiest way to get a hold of us, any of the email addresses that you see here on the screen, but also through the website. You can go to our events, golf tournament, and register. That will give the committee members a notification that you're interested. We'll hit you back to confirm, and you'll be good to attend, and we will see you on July 12th. Again, sign up, go ahead, tell some other folks about it, and we look forward to seeing you out at Army Navy Fairfax on the 12th. It'll be a great event. So thanks, Pat.
Thank you, Jason. And I hope that we will see all of you out on the golf course in July. I'm looking forward to seeing you there and finally being able to get together in person. Again, thank you for all of your support, your participation and attendance for this past season, and we will see you soon. Thank you and have an amazing rest of your day.